On August 12, 2014, at the St. Regis Bali resort, a taxi driver is sitting in the heat, waiting. He's been there for 2 hours now. His passengers, a young American couple, said they'd be right back. They just needed to check out of the hotel, but they never came back. So a hotel security guard walks over. He's noticed something in the trunk. Blood. Dark stains coming through a silver suitcase. He tells the driver, "Hey, maybe we should take this to the police." The driver agrees. Yeah, something's definitely not right here. At the police station, officers open the suitcase. Inside is the body of 62-year-old Sheila von Wiese-Mack. Skull fractured, neck broken, stuffed into luggage like garbage. Her daughter, Heather Mack, is 19 years old, and somewhere in Bali, she's running. To understand what happened at the St. Regis, you need to know who Sheila von Wiese-Mack actually was. Not just the victim in a suitcase, the person. Sheila was born in Minneapolis in 1952, grew up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Bright, ambitious, driven. She studied political science at Simmons College in Boston, got her MBA from Washington University in St. Louis. After college, she landed a job working for Senator Ted Kennedy, the kind of position that opens doors. In a 2013 interview with the Caxtonian, it's a literary society newsletter, Sheila talked about those days. She did research for Kennedy, handled all the administrative work. She even poured tea for Rose Kennedy a few times. Pretty cool for a young woman just starting out. Later, she worked at Doubleday, the publishing house. Eventually pursued PhD work at the University of Chicago, studying under Saul Bellow. And that's where she met James L. Mack. James was a jazz musician and classical composer, well known in Chicago's music scene. He was also 34 years older than Sheila. When they got married, he was in his 60s. She was in her 30s. Friends described the marriage as complicated, but Sheila seemed devoted to James, especially after 2001. That year, they took a Mediterranean cruise with Royal Caribbean. During the trip, James injured his foot. According to court records, the ship's doctor didn't treat it properly. The injury got worse. James ended up partially paralyzed, confined to a wheelchair. For the next 5 years, Sheila took care of him full-time. Some friends said Sheila described those years as the richest experience of my life. But others paint a darker picture. Multiple people close to her said James was abusive, verbally and physically. She told friends he didn't respect her, and the abuse often happened in front of their daughter, Heather. Heather was born in 1995 when Sheila was 43. By all accounts, Sheila adored her daughter. She wanted to give Heather everything. The best education, culture, travel, opportunity. But as Heather got older, something went wrong. In 2006, the Macks took a vacation to Greece. On August 6, James L. Mack died in his hotel room from a pulmonary embolism. He was 76. Just 5 days before his death, James had signed a will leaving his entire estate to Heather, who was 10 years old at the time. But after years of litigation with Royal Caribbean over that cruise ship injury, a settlement was finally reached in 2011. After legal fees, the estate got $840,667. A judge awarded $340,667 to Sheila and $500,000 to James's estate, which Sheila as executor claimed for herself. Money that was supposed to go to Heather. We don't know what Heather thought about that, but from the outside, things at home were falling apart. Between January 2004 and June 2013, Oak Park police were called to the Mack residence 86 times. 86. Domestic disturbances, theft reports, missing person calls. Mostly it was mother and daughter, screaming, fighting, calling the cops on each other. Neighbors described constant chaos. One neighbor said the fighting was serious enough that it sometimes ended with physical injuries. The screaming was so loud, so frequent, that police visits became routine, once or twice a month toward the end. And the police reports from those years? They're disturbing. January 2010. Heather punched her mother's broken ankle. Also stole $1,000. February 2011. Heather broke her mother's arm. Then ripped the phone cord out of the wall so her mother couldn't call 911. July 2011. Heather threatened her mother again. November 2012. Heather bit her mother, left a bruise. Sheila refused to let police photograph it. There are photos from April 2011, evidence photos taken by Oak Park police. Bite marks and bruising on Sheila's left arm and wrist, her right arm in a brace, broken. But Heather's defense attorneys would later argue the abuse went both ways. that Sheila had her own issues with alcohol, with mental health, with parenting, that she used the police as a discipline tool instead of actually parenting. Friends of Sheila's confirmed she drank too much sometimes. In one police report from March 2013, Heather accused her mother of being drunk. Sheila admitted she was probably over the legal limit to drive. Several people who knew Sheila told investigators she showed up with bruises a lot after James died. Bruises, she said, came from Heather. They begged her to distance herself from her daughter once Heather turned 18, to set boundaries, protect herself. Sheila couldn't do it. Mark Bacharach, a friend of Sheila's for 25 years, told NBC News, "She overindulged the child. At least 4 or 5 of us would say to kick her out. She was hanging out with a bad crowd, but Sheila always took her back." He described Heather as someone who could be as charming and self-effacingly sweet one minute, and then a vicious little monster the next. And then he said something that stuck with him. "That was my friend's most outstanding characteristic. She tried to hope when it came to Heather." In May 2013, Sheila sold the Oak Park house and moved with Heather to a high-rise condo in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood. Fresh start, maybe. A chance to leave the chaos behind. It didn't work. Tommy Schaefer was born July 13, 1993. Like Heather, he went to Oak Park and River Forest High School, graduated in 2011. Neighbors in Oak Park described him as a troublemaker, hung out with a bad crowd. Paul Kreis, who once owned the home Tommy's mother rented, said police had to be called there from time to time. Beer cans all over the yard. In 2012, Tommy was convicted of simple assault. Tommy had dreams though. He wanted to be a rapper. Went by Mr. X. He enrolled at Northern Illinois University, then Columbia College Chicago. Dropped out of both to pursue music full-time. He also had an outstanding warrant for his arrest in Indiana, marijuana possession. He'd skipped court. Sheila von Wiese-Mack did not approve of her daughter dating Tommy Schaefer. By early 2014, Heather had dropped out of college and moved out of her mother's condo. She was living in a hotel with Tommy. Sheila tracked her down, but friends said she barely recognized her anymore. Still, Sheila kept trying. She and Heather had this tradition of taking exotic vacations together, trips they'd done every year since James died. In 2014, Sheila decided on Bali. Friends begged her not to go. "We're shocked what happened," Bacharach said later, "but nobody's surprised." Before the trip, something else happened. 3 weeks before Bali, Heather and Tommy were allegedly caught using Sheila's credit card without permission to party at a Rush Street hotel in Chicago. And Heather was pregnant. Or at least Sheila suspected it. She'd scheduled blood work to confirm. The father? Tommy Schaefer. On August 9, 2014, Sheila and Heather flew first class to Bali. Checked into the St. Regis Bali Resort in Nusa Dua, one of the island's most exclusive areas. 5-star property, pristine beaches, luxury everything. Sheila was hoping this trip would help, that maybe things could be fixed between them. She had no idea that Heather had already used her credit card to buy Tommy a business-class ticket to Bali. While Sheila and Heather were flying to Bali, Tommy Schaefer was at O'Hare, waiting for his own flight. His cousin, Robert Ryan Justin Bibbs, was texting him. Robert Bibbs was 24, living on Chicago's South Side, and according to what came out in court later, he knew exactly what Tommy and Heather were planning to do, because they'd already tried once. Prosecutors revealed that before Tommy even left for Bali, Heather had asked him to kill her mother, offered him $50,000. Bibbs knew about the plan. He thought that once Sheila was dead, Tommy would get access to her estate through Heather, and Tommy would share the money with him. Heather's mother was wealthy, or at least Bibbs thought so. Estimates went as high as $11 million. In reality, Heather was the beneficiary of a $1.6 million trust fund from her mother, which would pay her small amounts each year until she turned 30, then the rest after that. But money was the motive, and Bibbs was invested. On the morning of August 12, 2014, Tommy texted Bibbs from Bali. The first attempt had failed. They tried to overdose Sheila. It didn't work. "Wasn't enough, bro," Tommy texted, along with a shaking my head emoji. "Definitely need that," followed by a handgun emoji. Bibbs responded with advice. Alternative methods: drowning, suffocation. Later that morning, Tommy texted again. Heather wanted him to do it now, while she's snoozing. Bibbs replied, "Go sit on her face with a pillow then. Smother her while she slept." In another exchange, Tommy asked Heather, Can you whack her in the head with a big-ass pole? Heather's response, can you? Tommy, yes. In their messages, Tommy and Heather called themselves Bonnie and Clyde. Just before the murder, Tommy texted, let me just creep up and wake her. Once I do it, she was drunk, slipped and fell. Bibbs encouraged him. Be careful, he said. Make sure there are no cameras. And then Tommy Schaefer walked into the hotel room where Sheila von Wiese-Mack was sleeping. The night before, on August 11th, surveillance footage from the St. Regis caught an argument in the lobby. Sheila von Wiese-Mack and Tommy Schaefer face to face. Heated, public. Nobody knows exactly what they said. But the next morning, Sheila was dead. According to what Tommy later admitted in court, he walked into the hotel room and hit Sheila with a heavy metal object, the handle of a fruit bowl. He beat her, fractured her skull, broke her neck. She died from asphyxiation caused by a broken nose bone. Heather helped him stuff her mother's body into a suitcase. Think about that for a second. Your mother, the woman who gave birth to you, who tried, in her own messed up way, to love you. Her body, broken and dead, being folded into luggage. They got a luggage cart, wheeled the suitcase through the hotel, out to the waiting taxi, put it in the trunk, told the driver they'd be right back, and then they ran. While the taxi driver waited, Tommy texted Bibbs back in Chicago. He'd just killed someone. And for some reason he said he didn't feel bad. She wasn't a good person, Bibbs replied, talking about Sheila. There wasn't any positive energy released from her body. And then, for the next 10 minutes, while Heather was still getting the suitcase and luggage cart, Tommy and Bibbs just chatted. About basketball. Emojis, LOLs. Two guys talking, like nothing had happened. On August 13, 2014, police arrested Heather Mack and Tommy Schaefer at a hotel in Cuda, about 6 miles from the St. Regis. They were sleeping. At first, they claimed robbers killed Sheila, said they'd escaped. Nobody believed them. On August 15th, both were officially designated as prisoners. 5 days later, on August 20th, a urine test confirmed Heather was pregnant. Some people thought it was fake, a way to get her sent home. It wasn't. She was carrying Tommy's child. On September 19th, Tommy admitted to killing Sheila. Heather admitted to helping stuff the body into the suitcase. They were both charged with premeditated murder on January 14, 2015. During the trial in Indonesia, Tommy's defense team claimed self-defense. He said Sheila used a racial slur against him, that she threatened to kill their unborn baby, that she choked him for half a minute and he struck her in a panic. The judges didn't buy it, neither did prosecutors who had the text messages. In April 2015, Tommy Schaefer was sentenced to 18 years in an Indonesian prison. Heather Mack got 10 years. The judges said they were lenient with her because she'd given birth in prison, a baby girl named Stella Schaefer, born March 17, 2015. But it wasn't over. On September 23, 2015, over a year after the murder, FBI agents arrested Robert Bibbs at his apartment on Chicago's South Side. When Special Agent Michael Vahidtari confronted him, Bibbs denied everything at first. Then he admitted to sending the texts. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, Facebook messages, conversations over weeks. Bibbs had coached Tommy and Heather on how to kill Sheila without getting caught, suggested making it look like an accidental overdose or suffocating her in her sleep, encouraged Tommy to go through with it even while it was happening, and he did it all expecting to get rich. On August 13, 2014, the day after the murder, as news reports about the Bali suitcase murder spread worldwide, Bibbs sent a series of panicked texts to his girlfriend. "I feel sick to my stomach," he wrote. "I'm numb. All I can think it's my fault. I feel dead." His girlfriend asked why he was worried. "'Cause it's possible proof that could lead back to me," Bibbs replied. She tried to reassure him. "All he did was send texts," she said. "That doesn't make him a murderer." Bibbs answered, "I don't know." In court, he stood and apologized, said he'd been drinking a lot at the time, that he was lost as a man and depressed, that he never expected them to actually do something so horrible. But federal judge Rebecca Pallmeyer wasn't buying it. "It's haunting," she said, "that someone who had every opportunity to step in and prevent a violent murder, in fact, did nothing of the kind." In December 2016, Robert Bibbs pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit foreign murder of a U.S. national. On June 2, 2017, he was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. Before the sentencing, Sheila's siblings, her brother Bill Weiss and her sister Debbie Curran, spoke to the court. Bill Wiese said they would have been looking forward to visiting Sheila in Chicago for her 65th birthday that month, walking along the lakefront, enjoying the warm June weather. Instead, they were here. In October 2021, after serving 7 years in Indonesia, Heather Mack was released from Karobokan female prison. She'd gotten multiple sentence reductions for good behavior, common in Indonesia, a total of 34 months off her sentence. The prison chief, a woman named Lily, told reporters Heather had shown to be a good person, that she looked happy when she learned she was being freed. Heather wanted to stay in Indonesia with her daughter Stella, who was 6 years old by then. She said it was safer than Chicago. But Indonesian immigration had other plans. Both would be deported immediately. Stella was American by birth under Indonesia's nationality laws. As the plane carrying Heather and Stella got close to O'Hare Airport on November 10, 2021, federal prosecutors unsealed an indictment in U.S. District Court. Heather Mack was charged with conspiracy to commit the murder of a U.S. national overseas. 2 additional charges could have carried a life sentence. FBI agents were waiting for her at O'Hare. They arrested her as soon as she landed. Stella was taken into protective custody. Heather was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in downtown Chicago. Over the next 2 years, Stella's custody became a legal fight. Multiple people wanted her. Tia Walker, Tommy Schaefer's mother, Stella's paternal grandmother, desperately wanted custody. She told the judge she wouldn't stop advocating for her granddaughter. But Cook County Judge Kathy Flanagan had concerns about Walker's judgment and credibility. There was also Vanessa Favia, an attorney who'd been involved in the case before, and Oshar Suartama, who'd helped raise Stella in Indonesia, and Diana Roque Ellis, who the judge thought was trying to exploit Stella for book or TV deals. She is the one who has started all of this in motion. Judge Flanagan said about Ellis, "In the end, custody went to Heather's cousin, a woman whose mother was Sheila von Wiese-Mack's sister. Family. Stella would stay with family. By all accounts, Stella's doing well. She's in school, she sees a therapist, she's being taken care of." On June 16, 2023, Heather Mack appeared in federal court in Chicago. She was 27 now, not the 19-year-old arrested in Bali anymore. She pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to kill a United States national. Under the plea agreement, the government dropped the 2 other charges. Maximum prison term would be capped at 28 years. Her attorneys argued for 15. Prosecutors pushed for the full 28. Before sentencing, Heather's uncle, Bill Wiese, gave a victim impact statement. If it were up to him, he said, Heather would spend the rest of her life in prison for her morally reprehensible behavior. "You've never shown any remorse for all of your actions since the murder," he said, looking right at her. "Thank goodness neither of your grandparents are here to see this." He talked about his sister, how excited Sheila was when she became a mother, how hard she worked to create a safe, positive environment for her daughter. "Parenting is never perfect," he said. "I can't imagine doing it alone after her husband Jim died." Heather's attorneys had argued that her mother abused her, but they also admitted the abuse went both ways. Wiese said Heather started the violence. "I feel terrible," he said, "because I could not stop this cycle of abuse." Sheila's sister, Debbie Curran, also submitted a statement, read in court by her daughter, Lindsay Lococo. Before she was sentenced, Heather apologized. "There is no excuse for trying to harm her." She said about her mother, "It does not matter what my relationship was with my mother." Her defense attorneys said she was genuinely, extremely remorseful. Federal Judge Matthew Kennelly wasn't convinced. "This was a brutal and premeditated crime," he said. On January 17, 2024, he sentenced Heather Mack to 26 years in federal prison. Federal sentencing laws require defendants to serve at least 85% of their sentence before they're eligible for release. With credit for the 2 years she'd already served in U.S. custody, that means Heather Mack could spend more than 19 additional years in prison. Judge Kennelly also ordered her to pay $262,708 in restitution to her mother's estate and a $50,000 fine. After the sentencing, Bill Wiese spoke to reporters. "The world knew that justice was not served in Indonesia 9 years ago," he said. "We are relieved that the court today gave Sheila the justice she so rightly deserves." Thanks for watching. If you're interested in real investigations, shocking cases, and justice served, please subscribe, leave a comment, and join us as we explore more true crime stories.